1 month after a bomb explodes in a dumpster near the courthouse.
We've got a few showers out there for some lucky residents in the area, but most of us staying dry, most of us staying hot. Your full forecast coming up.
And King Charles III makes his first visit to Wales as monarch.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Authorities in Parsons, Kansas discover an explosive device in a residential area. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, a bomb discovered in Parsons, Kansas, 1 month to the day after a bomb explodes near the courthouse. Now, this latest call came yesterday around 2 o'clock for a suspicious object in the 2700 block of Durr. When officers arrived, they tested the device. The result was positive for explosive material, and the Kansas Highway Patrol Hazardous Device Unit came and disposed of the device. No word on a suspect. Authorities urge anyone with information to contact the Parsons Police Department. And the suspect in last month's dumpster bombing near the courthouse in Parsons makes his second appearance in court. James Sutton is charged with arson and criminal use of explosives, among other charges. The 63-year-old had a court date on Wednesday. Now, the explosion happened early in the morning on August 15th in a dumpster in the parking lot outside the Labette County Judicial Center. No one was injured in the explosion. Well, the state of Kansas is in a drought, and Caney, Kansas has declared a water emergency. KOAM's Yana Hatula reports on the next step for the Southeast Kansas community.
Extreme drought and lack of rain has pushed the city of Caney in Kansas to take serious action to its water usage.
We asked the town when we first had a meeting that we needed to conserve water as best as possible. And then, of course, with no rain and coming in either up north or here in Caney has caused us to take the next step, which is going to be the water emergency class 2.
The city has been warning and asking its citizens to lessen water use for about 30 days now.
As you drive through town, you still see people that were watering their flowers and the grass and using the water, and it's just some people just didn't take it seriously. It is the first time that something like this has really came up where we had to go to this extent.
According to City of Caney, water can be used for personal hygiene, but not for any commercial, agricultural, or industrial purposes.
Every house in town is going to get a door tag that says, hey, we're in a water emergency and now you guys have to start conserving water.
Police chief from Caney says they are not used to being the water police.
While our patrol officers are out patrolling, I've instructed them if they see somebody watering that's not supposed to be watering, to just stop and talk to them and explain the situation.
The chief expects residents to respect and take the situation seriously. If there are problems with obeying the rules, there may be disconnection of services or police will take action for the use of unnecessary water.
Probably a citation to appear in court, and then they would have to appear in court, the city court.
For now, the city is only hoping for rainfall. The mayor has been looking for other water sources and contacted another rural water district close to Caney.
They would not be able to supply all of the water, but talking to them, it looks like they could supply us at least 40%.
In Caney, Yana Hautala, KOAM News.
The city is unsure how long the emergency stage will last. Well, we know it won't be anytime soon. Chris Warner joins us with a first look at the forecast.
Yeah, there's a few lucky ones out there getting some showers this afternoon. I wanted to show you the almanac. As we've mentioned before, these numbers will fill in later tonight. Our normal high for today, 82. We're roughly 8 to 9 degrees above that, and that's just today. Wait till you see the long-range forecast later on. All right, as I mentioned, a few lucky folks getting some rain, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder. You can see a couple of lightning strikes with this cell just west of Eureka, but as you can also see, the majority of us are remaining dry. And look at the drought tracker. No changes, but no improvements either. We've still got extreme drought for everybody in the red. And the concern is over the next several days with the lack of rain and all the heat we're going to have, some of the areas that actually started to recover a bit in southwest Missouri may start to slip back under some of the severe to extreme drought conditions. And we'll talk about that 7-day forecast here in a few minutes and what we mean by how hot it's going to get. Looks all right for right now, though. 82 Joplin, 82 Carthage, 83 Pittsburgh and Parsons, 86 in Chanute, 78 in Iola. Future track shows that batch of showers and thunderstorms rolling on off to the northeast. And then, unfortunately, over the next couple of days, you can see there are showers and thunderstorms out there, but they stay to our north. It just continues tracking roughly right along I-70 and missing us completely. As we go through the rest of today, still expecting a hot one, afternoon high of 91, 85 at 2, 88 by 5, 76 by 8 under partly cloudy skies. We're going to take a full look at that forecast, 7-day, and those temperatures, if we dare, in a few minutes.
All right. Well, Social House Entertainment is prepping for tonight's four-state music festival, Pittsburgh State University's first ever country music festival. It'll feature artists like Chase Rice, Cameron Marlowe, and Parmalee. Gates open today at 5 p.m. Well, officials and humanitarian groups are responding to groups of migrants sent to Washington, D.C. and Martha's Vineyard. One group was dropped off by buses near the vice president's residence on the order of the Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott. Another was flown to Martha's Vineyard as part of what Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis calls a relocation program. Democrats are calling the moves a political stunt using migrants' lives as props. But the governors say they're just making a point about President Biden's immigration policies. Elaine Quijano reports from Edgartown, Massachusetts.
In a whaling port turned popular vacation destination, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church normally only needs to provide shelter for a few people at a time. But today it's offering accommodations for about 50, a group of Venezuelan migrants, including elderly and children as young as 4, none of whom speak English, and some without relatives or resources in the U.S. Some documented their trip, taking pictures and videos with their cell phones. This mother was told she was heading to Washington. She says, "I want my son to be safe, go to school, and have the safety we didn't have in our home country." The migrants flew in from Texas on 2 planes chartered by Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis.
We are not a sanctuary state.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
This is an unprecedented crisis.
Ivan Espinosa is part of a team of lawyers working to help determine the next steps for the migrants who arrived in Martha's Vineyard. He says none of the migrants knew they would end up here, and that some who were in need of medical care did not receive it before leaving Texas.
The misinformation, the misrepresentations are seen in every step of the way.
On Thursday, buses carrying about 100 asylum seekers and migrants from Texas arrived unannounced outside Vice President Kamala Harris's residence at the U.S. Naval Observatory. So far, Texas and Arizona have sent at least 295 buses with approximately 13,000 migrants to D.C., New York, and Chicago.
Republicans are playing politics with human beings. What they're doing is simply wrong. It's un-American. It's reckless.
In a statement, Governor Abbott said he will continue sending migrants to asylum cities until there is reform at the southern border. Several of the migrants believe that they were misled, and now the district attorney here in Massachusetts is seeking guidance from the Justice Department on how to move forward. Elaine Quijano, CBS News, Edgartown, Massachusetts.
Some migrants also tell CBS News they were handed a map of Martha's Vineyard before arriving, but were told little else or given conflicting information. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, honoring the Queen.
King Charles visits another nation in the UK as their new monarch. I'm Ian Lee with why that massive line to see Queen Elizabeth's coffin was brought to a standstill.
And later, Howard shows us how to make wonton egg drop soup in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. King Charles III completes his visit to all the nations of the United Kingdom. While back in England, the government had to pause the line of mourners waiting to pay their respects to the late Queen. CBS's Ian Lee has the latest from London.
Cheering crowds welcomed King Charles III for his first visit to Wales as monarch. He shook hands and accepted flowers as he met with well-wishers. Britain's new king has now made stops in all 4 nations of the UK. With the Queen consort at his side, King Charles took part in a prayer service for his mother and spoke before the Welsh Parliament.
Through all the years of her reign, the land of Wales could not have been closer to my mother's heart.
Here in London, the miles-long line of people waiting to get inside to see Queen Elizabeth's coffin in Westminster Hall is so long that government officials temporarily stop people from joining it. Officials say the wait time reached 14 hours, but mourners in the queue, as the Brits call it, say the experience is worth it.
I think what's absolutely incredible is the fact that you've got so many people here this morning, all getting up, coming in, standing patiently and quietly in the queue. It's amazing.
Outside Windsor Castle, mounted police rode in formation. Security is being stepped up ahead of the Queen's burial there on Monday.
I'd much rather them do that than not. Something terrible happen, because it's always on the back of your mind.
The Queen will be buried in St. George's Chapel next to her late husband, Prince Philip. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Tomorrow, all 8 of Queen Elizabeth's grandchildren are expected to stand vigil at her coffin. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
You can't decide between wonton or egg drop soup with today's easy recipe. You won't have to. So grab a soup spoon and meet me right back here.
But first, Chris Warner returns with your complete forecast.
All right, a few of us out there are lucky enough to be getting some showers and even some rumbles of thunder on this rather toasty September day, but the majority of us staying dry. Taking a look at the Skywatch storm tracker, you can see what we're talking about with some of those rumbles of thunder and some shower activity. We've got some shower activity around Garnett, Mound City, and then we've got a few rumbles of thunder just to the southwest of Burlington, getting right into Eureka, and these will slowly continue to move on off to the north and to the east. And unfortunately, as you can see, despite some, aside from some cloud cover, the rest of us staying quite dry across the area, and that's how it's going to be. Taking a look at the drought tracker we were showing you earlier, we've got a huge chunk of the area still in extreme drought conditions. And the concern is over the next several days, we're going to stay hot, we're going to stay dry. We could see this extreme expand a little bit, or at least some of the severe drought conditions expand because of how hot and dry it's going to be. 7th range line looks pretty good. A few passing clouds right now, nothing too crazy out there. 82 degrees, it does feel like 82, and as promised, those winds picking up out of the south-southwest. A few wind gusts upwards of about 20 miles an hour out there, so make sure you've secured your trash can if you haven't already. All right, temperatures. We got 83 Neodesha, 86 in Chanute, 83 Parsons in Pittsburgh, 82 Lamar in Carthage, and 79 in Monette at this noon hour. We also have allergies to contend with. We got high pollen counts, or technically they're moderately high. 9.2 out of 12 today, a forecasted 8.3 out of 12 for tomorrow, so no significant improvements there. Now going through the rest of today, still looking at a high of about 91 degrees. Otherwise, we'll have partly to mostly cloudy skies as we drop back to 76 by 8. And we'll head for an overnight low of 64 tonight with partly to mostly cloudy skies, and they'll start to clear out early tomorrow morning. Now for Friday night football, there's some good news. It's going to be pretty decent. Good weather, 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime, mostly clear skies in both situations. And this weekend, a very slight chance of a stray storm or two Saturday, most of us dry, 93, 96 on Sunday under partly cloudy skies, and we've got some warm evenings ahead of us as well. All right, future track, this is Saturday at noon, and you can see where some of us may get a stray shower or two, but the rest of us staying pretty hot and dry. And it tries to give us another scattered storm or two later in the day, but as you can see after that, nothing. We just get hot and we stay dry. This is the cold front we've been talking about Thursday. Unfortunately, as you can see, not very strong as it is, and it completely, in terms of rain, falls apart before it gets here. It does help start to bring temperatures back down, though, as we head into next week. But all of our rain and storm systems staying off to our north, not giving us any kind of relief. So let's go over the next 7 days. It's going to be unpleasant to say the least. We've got mid-90s pushing the upper 90s to start next week, looking at near 100, if not 100 by Wednesday, and then 98 Thursday. And the cold front gradually brings the temperatures down, which is nice. We definitely need that. But as you can see on this, our next best chance of rain at this time is not until next Sunday. Not this Sunday, next Sunday. And so that's why we're worried about the drought situation. Things are going to get hot. It's going to get dry. I mean, we're almost out of September, and we're looking at days near or at 100 degrees ahead of us.
Well, we've managed it this summer. We could do it, but just please Please don't take away those 80s come next weekend.
I'm hopeful we
I'm
can
holding
keep
on to
them. And,
those.
I mean, the biggest thing I'm looking
need
forward
that-
to is some kind of chance of rain. And
Man, we need that light at the end of the tunnel with the cooler temperatures and the rain.
well, and we thought we saw it over the last couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the wet pattern did not hold. We dried right back out, and here we are again, starting to look like it did in July.
Sure did. All right. Thanks, Chris. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Gene Powers in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Joplin, Missouri, joined the 27th Division Combat Engineers in 1943. He earned 2 Bronze Stars while serving in the Pacific Theater during World War II. To Sergeant Gene Powers, we thank you, our four-state hero. Today, we're combining 2 favorite takeouts into one. Howard shows us how to make wonton egg drop soup in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
When it comes to choosing between wonton and egg drop soup, which do you prefer? I like them both, which is why we came up with an egg drop soup with wontons in it. That is as easy as can be. We begin by heating some chicken broth with a touch of sesame oil. While that heats up, we combine some ground pork with a few sliced scallions, ground ginger, and garlic powder. Once that's mixed, we put spoonfuls of this on a wonton skin. And if you're wondering, where can I find these? They're usually in the produce section. Next, we brush the edges with beaten eggs, fold it over to form a triangle, and seal them up. Then into the soup they go. Once they're cooked, we take them out and thicken our soup by slowly stirring in some cornstarch mixed with a bit of chicken broth. To make this true egg drop soup, we need to add some eggs, of course. So we drizzle in a few at a time that we've beaten. We finish it off with a touch of soy sauce before adding the cooked wontons back in. That's it. Maybe top it off with a few scallions and it's ready to serve. And the best part is, it's so good no one would ever believe that you made it from scratch. The recipe for our wonton egg drop soup is online now, so you can have the best of both worlds. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a super duper way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
It's going to be hot as we head into the next several days. Maybe a stray shower or storm tomorrow. Otherwise, highs creeping up into the upper 90s to near 100 by the middle of next week. Almost July-like weather as we close out September.
All right, what do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5 is your pooch getting a little plump, referring to your dog, not your belly. New research suggests dog owners who are more active have more active dogs, but a lot of pets are putting on the pounds. We're going to look at the health impacts of obesity in pets in Health Watch. Plus, Grove, Oklahoma officers are cracking down on crosswalk violations with pedestrians and drivers. And Parsons, Kansas Police Department releases its annual report saying 2021 was a safer year in Parsons, even with crime challenges. That's a quote. We'll have details on that report. A lot more, of course. It's coming up today on KOAM News at 5.
All right. Thank you, Dal. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.